Feeling pleasantly throbby, my attention was drawn to the floor, but I continued with the pentagram rite. With the verses, the thick and sparkly colors extended beyond the mirror. And then in later selections, it was enclosed in the mirror. I feel a bit drifty, but was more awakened and comfortable and content at the time. Finally, I was a soft, white pillar that was round, very cylindrical, but more like a cloud than totally solid. There is a difference between Kabbalah, and what is called pagan versions of the same. Some, because of the associations, might not want to use a Hebrew alphabet. The Phoenician alphabet, which is technically called Aramea, this becomes suitable. Now, before they decided on 22 letters, there was up to 30 letters. And you could say, just as there's that straight line that's either a doubling or a glottal stop, that also would have been used. Now, the Samaritan alphabet, some things went on among the Samaritans, but also of the other more explicitly Israeli tribes. Not everything was the monotheism with some abrogations of reference that one may be familiar with Tanakh. The alphabet that they use in the Church of Hermetic Sciences, now they use a 25-letter alphabet, but the 24-letter alphabet kind of mixes in some Greek, and the Phoenician kind of extends up into the Hyperborean area. You look at 20-something thousand years ago with the Bosnian pyramids, the alphabet seems to come through those corridors. The language that we call Biblical Hebrew picked up some stuff from other people around. And the Hebrew, which use the, which you find in the Talmud and all that, well, this picked up some Arabic and stuff. And Arabic also has its system that you can call a Kabbalah. You have the abjad, which you determine the number values. Now, they also looked at tonal things because, particularly when you look at Quranic Arabic, the tone can kind of hint you towards the meaning. Not quite, and not in the way that Chinese is like that, but most ancient languages seem to have this alphanumeric or some other mystical look at the alphabet. And the Pythagorean sort of stuff, that cues in. The Western mystical tradition kind of gears one to Jesus and Mary representing with the angels or saints over the places where the pantheons of old are spoken of through the pantheons of old, that this was, Christianity just retranslated things and put things over things like that. But Poke Runyon and others have sort of developed a system that can be used for those that, for some reason or another, have issues with the more common scriptures. Now, you should be able to use them as magical tools according to your particular beliefs and practices, and it might be better in the long run to kind of be able to turn that, instead of having a response where you can't even admit to the value in these things, and perhaps realize that a lot of the things that you had problems with your church or your synagogue wasn't even in there. And one of the things about Kabbalah becoming more popular was because the Jewish community was losing people to other movements, and their former response of this is getting people not grounded in reality and all sorts of other stuff that we have issue with. They thought, okay, let's revive things so that we can look at those, so that we can keep people in Judaism rather than have them in other types of faith. And of course, Judaism, particularly when it came to Kabbalah, after exposure to the Sufis, because some of the Kabbalistic structures actually come from the Sufis. The Tree of Life follows a pattern from the Quran, and some other stuff seems to have come through Sufi use of stuff before it made its way into Jewish mysticism. And there's documentary evidence to indicate things this way. But one thing that the OTA, or CHS, does that aligns with the Sufis is that there are spheres within spheres. So you could say you open up Yesod, and then you open up this of Yesod and this of Yesod, and you can kind of expand the tree that way. And some of the spheres, as one will find elsewhere, and I've also talked about Gershom Scholem more than reading that book and some other stuff, is they have different names and all that. And ultimate divinity isn't judgmental in the way that one would have thought to be driven out of church, because, hell has been prepared for sinners like you and all that sort of stuff, and just assuming that everybody's damned and all that stuff. That this is not the Hermetic approach. The Hermetic approach is that one can actively play a role in your own personal choice. And so that's something to, take a careful part in, right? Have a sense of what you are channeling or regarding or whatever you call it, and try to work in some sense of balance.